Hello and welcome. Chris from Missouri here, bringing you another video about vintage baseball cards. In this video, I'm going to show you some cards. In fact, I'm going to show you some cards that I recently picked up at at a card show in St. Louis that's about 2 hours away from me. And I'm going to tell you the story, but I'm going to show you these cards. And I actually picked up a card at this show that I thought I'd never, ever own. And I'm going to tell you the story, and then I'm going to show you that card at the end. So there was a particular card that was going to be at this show, and I knew it was going to be at this show because one of the dealers, Carson, who's a young high school basketball or college basketball player, and you probably heard me talk about Carson, but he heard about this card that I was wanting, and he saw it on an auction, and he told me there was about 14 minutes to go in the auction when he saw it, and he had heard me talking about it, and so he knew that I wanted it, so he went ahead and bought it. He calls me up and says, "Hey, I got this card, and are you interested?" And I said, "Yes." And he knew I was, and he was going to set it aside for me. And so when the dealer knows you want a card, you get a little nervous because you don't know what you're going to pay for it. And so I set out that day to get this particular card, and I'm going to tell you how expensive this card could be. To tell you some cards I took to trade for it. I took a 52 Burke Ross mantle. I took a Jackie Robinson 54 Jackie Robinson. I took a Frank Robinson rookie card. I took a Carl Yastrzemski rookie card. I took a Ty Cobb strip card, and then I took a lot of cash, depending on what was going. Is it going to be a trade? Is it going to be cash or what? And so I pick up my friend Mauricio. And you've heard me talk about Mauricio. He sets up with me most of the time at a show, but this time we weren't going to set up. We were just going to go. We were just going to go to the show. And so we got there, and when I walked in, very impressed. I mean, like I say, there was about 115 tables, and there was a lot of vintage. And I was doing everything I could to not walk directly over to Carson like a 12-year-old probably would be, to try to act like I was a little bit more mature and a little bit more patient than I really am. But I got to look at some cards, if I knew I was going to have some money left over, I was going to come back and spend it on some other cards. But when I got there, Carson showed me the card right away, and he kind of took the fear out of me a little bit. He said, "Listen, if you want to buy the card outright, I don't care. If you want to trade for it, if you brought some stuff to trade, I don't care. If you want to do cash and trade, whatever you want to do," he was willing to do, which I thought that was really good because I knew exactly what he paid for it because he said, it was the last purchase, and because this particular card doesn't come up for sale very often. But then we made the deal, and it was trade a few of those cards that I mentioned and cash. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you some cards. Now, let me get this reprint of Mickey Mantle off of here. The first card I picked up, and it is not that card. I'm going to show you that card last. But this is a beautiful card. This is a 49 Bowman, Phil Rizzuto. Beautiful card. I'm going to start a Phil Rizzuto run. Now, the next two cards I'm going to show you is part of the cards I need for the Mike Payne 300 greatest cards of the 20th century. And I'm also doing a Sandy Koufax run. And there's not too many cards. He doesn't have a whole lot of cards to complete a run, but I thought this was pretty good. And it became my 200th and 201st cards to add to that collection. Now, Ray from Philly does that, and I know Mike Moynihan, baseball collector, does the 300 great cards, and they have more than I do. But I also picked up this Casey Stengel. I think those are three beautiful cards. So that 300 card's going to be tough for me to do. that's one of the main things I collect, and the other one is post-war rookies. So another card I'm going to show you is a Tris Speaker a W516 card, hand cut. Now I'm starting to like these cards. This is authentic because it's been cut too close. But anyway, that's a beautiful Tris Speaker card. And those 516s are fun for me right now because I even picked up another one. They're a 1920 card. And this is graded in an SGC. But this is Rogers Hornsby. And Rogers Hornsby is one of the greatest right-hand hitters of all time and one of the greatest second basemen of all time. And that's a beautiful card. Now, another card that I picked up before I show you the card is the 1952 Bowman Minnie Minoso. Now, I have the 52 tops, but this card is just beautiful. I recently picked up a Yogi Berra in the 52. Just love it. Now, the card I'm going to show you. As most of you know that watch this, and if you don't, I always consider myself, when somebody interviews me or asks me, that I am a post-war Rookie Hall of Fame collector. And if you don't know, the PSA set registry has this as for people to go collect. And there's 115 cards post-war rookies that they've decided on. The last one that I got, and I have not shown that yet, is the Scott Rowland, okay, because he's recently in the Hall of Fame. But for a long time, I said I had 114 out of the 115. And there is one card, if you collect that, if you collect that registry, is almost impossible to get. And I said on video once that, I'd sell one of my kids or make my wife get a second job someday to own it. But I want to thank Carson for being fair with me in trading me this 48 leaf Hal Newhouser. Now, this is a super short print for those of you that don't know. And Hal Newhouser was a great pitcher that people don't know about. And I called around and I asked why this is so short, why this is such a tough card. They don't sell, like there was one sold a few months ago, but then 3 years it sold. And I went to the National to look for this card and couldn't find it at the National. But this completes that run. And so I asked some people why it's a super short print. And I had a couple pretty good answers to it. And one of them one person believes that that on the sheet they make these cards on a sheet, and then it was on the last row of the sheet, and that last row a lot of it was blank. So a lot of times when it was cut, people just didn't take the time to cut it because of a lot of the blank spaces on that sheet, which I don't know. That sounds great. I mean, that might be one reason, but the one I tend to believe, I asked John Mangini about this card, and I don't know if he has it or not. He probably does. He has everything, but I asked him about it, and he said a lot of times on these lease cards, the companies, to get you to buy more cards and to buy more stuff, people would be set collectors and try to collect the whole set, and they would only make a few of these, so people would keep trying to buy stuff to get this card. And you hear that sometimes about cards back in the old days, and I don't care what the reason is. I might try to find out a little bit more, but now I have all 115 of the post-war rookie Hall of Famers. And this, I don't know if it's a rare card. I'm gonna have to ask Blue Jacket 66 if this is rare. And I know it's a tough card, and I know there's a lot of people looking for this card, and it's got a population of 4, and I think there's a little over 70 graded higher. So I don't know if that constitutes being rare or not, but it's a beautiful card, and it is now my card. And so, guys, thank you so much for watching, and if you waited till the end, I really appreciate that. And listen, it's only a hobby. Collect what you like.